Live from Omaha, Nebraska, this is the Duquesne Sports Pregame Show brought to you by Duquesne Student Television. I'm Jack Morgan. Alongside me, Dolan Fisser. We're in the hotel room in Omaha, Nebraska. Across from us is College World Series Stadium. And a little further down, that's CHI Health Center, the home of March Madness in Omaha for the East Region. At least four of those games today will happen. The first one, Duquesne Dukes and the BYU Cougars. That's going to be a good one, and that's what we're going to break down today for you. And Dylan, we'll start with Duquesne. They come into this being the 8-10 champions, and they're on a roll.
Yeah, they definitely are, Jack. And I think the biggest thing coming into this game for them is those two stars we always talk about, Day-Day and Jimmy Grant. Day-Day Grant and Jimmy Clark. They're just two peas in a pod. You can't even get their names right. You need one of them to go off in this game. The Dukes, they got to have one of those guys have a really good game. If they both don't show up or one of them doesn't show up, I can't see the Dukes winning this because the star power for BYU is just it's there in their depth, and we have a lot of depth. Or excuse me, the Dukes have a lot of depth, but it's nowhere near the strength of BYU.
Yeah, absolutely. BYU also a tall team. Their starting lineup, their smallest guy, Dallin Hall, is 6'4", taller than me, taller than you, taller than most of you, and that just speaks to the bigger and better play in the Big 12. Big 12 just. 8-10 is a competitive, fun league. Big 12 is serious, man. There's a lot of good teams in that conference, and it's a dogfight in those games. And BYU, they can bring that to Duquesne.
They definitely can. That's something you're going to see. You're playing different teams. Of course, they're going to have guys that have to match up against that competition. So when they play a team like us, it's going to be a little mismatch. And that's a big strength for BYU is that size and that strength down there, especially in this game because Duquesne will be without Trey Williams.
And that is a big loss. Trey Williams is out for this one, out for the remainder of the tournament. At least that's what Dambra told me a few days ago in the hotel room after they got selected into the tournament. He did not seem as optimistic about Trey Williams and his approach to maybe bringing him back. He didn't seem too optimistic. So Dukes are most likely rolling without Trey Williams in this one. That's a big deal.
It definitely is, and we've talked a lot about the depth and the rotation of guys that are going to be down there. It's going to be really exciting to watch guys like Mahorcic, see him hopefully get a lot of playing time, see what Dave can do against that level of size. I'd really like to see this Duquesne team get a little more physical and draw some fouls. That was their big problem against VCU. When VCU really pushed up on those threes defensively, they just, inside in the paint, they couldn't get physical. They couldn't draw fouls. They weren't getting free throws off until the very end of that game. I believe they kind of stepped up that a little bit. But it's definitely going to be a challenge for them without Trey.
Definitely. And for BYU, there are two guys inside, both 6'11". That's a big task for guys like Mahorcic and maybe Jakob Nietzsche. Talk about Nietzsche and how he performed in that game against VCU. It was incredible. He was a big reason that's why they won.
Yeah, it's been really fun watching a lot of these walk-ons kind of step into their own this season. And for him, yeah, it's a little late, in the season. He struggled for a while, and we weren't really seeing development out of him that we were seeing out of guys like Jake DeMichael. But you're right, he's almost become a very versatile player for the Dukes. He's making threes. He's kind of being a bully in the paint, and I definitely think they'll turn to him in this moment.
Let's turn to Jake DeMichael, as you mentioned. And this is one of his bigger games as Duquesne Duke. It might be his biggest game, and it's only his freshman year. How fun has it been? It just covering this team to be able to see the emergence of him, and how important is he going to be in this one?
He's definitely going to be a factor. And it's been fun for sure, because obviously I do the photos and things, and you always see guys progressing. You see it all through that lens, and you hear it all as well in the crowd. I hear people talking about Jake in the crowd all the time, saying, how is this walk-on getting so much playing time? You look at him. He doesn't look like a walk-on. He's
really
certainly not
doesn't.
playing like it. And I believe it was Dambra who said he's not going to be a walk-on for long.
Yeah. I'd assume in the coming days, if they lose this one, or if they lose it whenever they lose, or if they, God forbid, win it all, whenever the season ends, Dan Brought's last act as head coach, I'd have to imagine would be to give Jake DeMichael a scholarship. But now let's talk about that because Keith Dambrot retiring after the conclusion of the season, whatever that may be, in the next few weeks. What does that do for a locker room? I mean, does this, I don't know. I mean, you've heard people say whether primarily they think it's going to affect them in a negative way, make them have to put too much pressure on themselves for it being Dambrot's possible last game, or it's going to motivate them even more to get the job done. Which, they're two opposite sides of two opposite poles. Which one seems more likely to you to come out in this one?
Yeah, more likely to me, I think, is to rally around this for them because that's what they've done all year. I mean, you look at the Dukes; they were in that position where it was, maybe his last year, and they weren't playing very well. Like we said, they were 0-5 to start in the conference, and now we've seen them rally. We see that team bond that they have, and I see no sign of that stopping. It definitely will be interesting because not only is Dambrot leaving, a lot of Dukes are playing possibly playing their last game for Duquesne. I think it's going to be a new team next year. I think it's going to be very revamped. But as far as this season goes, I see them finishing off very strong.
Before we get into our players watch and our game picks, just thoughts on the TV. The 4 games in Omaha that we will be seeing today. And for fun, I mean, on a fun note, which one do you look forward to beside Duquesne? You have any favorites, any picks? Because you got a couple good ones. You have Washington State Drake. That's coming up later. I mean, the Iowa State, South Dakota State, maybe a little 2:15 action. And then you have Illinois, Morehead State. Any of them interest you beside Duquesne?
Honestly, Jack, this might be a little bit niche, but I'm honestly really excited to watch James Madison because I have seen so many top 10 possible Cinderella teams, top 10 most likely to upset, and I feel like I've seen James Madison in every single list. And I just want to see it happen. I really do.
That's a 5-12 matchup. There's a bunch of good 5-12 matchups. You also had Gonzaga and McNeese. McNeese won 30-3 this year, and everyone will say, "Oh, the conference was not good," but at a certain point, it doesn't matter. You just go out there and you play, and that also A10, the Duquesne A10 counterparts. Dayton is actually playing today, and they play at 3:30 against Nevada. That'll be an interesting one. Speaking of interesting, let's go with our players to watch. We're going to start with BYU. Dylan, who's got to have a big game today?
For BYU, I think they're going to have a couple guys with some big games, but mainly I'm looking at Spencer Johnson. He has been that workhorse for this team, one of those big men for them. He's first on the team in rebounds, first in steals, second in minutes played. That's a workhorse in my eyes. And not only that, third on the team in points. He does it all, and I think he's got a big day today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go with Jackson Robinson, the senior guard for BYU. I mean, he's 6'7". First off, that's huge. In comparison to, guys at Duquesne, 6'7" is pretty big. He's going to have to match up with guys like Jimmy Clark and Day Grant, depending on who's in the game at that certain time, right? I mean, it's going to be big. He's going to need to defend them well. He's averaging a little under a steal a game, 0.9. You round that up, it's about a steal a game. He's going to have to play well defensively and offensively today for BYU to take down Duquesne. I just think that dual guard look for Duquesne, I mean, with Jimmy Grant and Jimmy Clark. I said the same thing as you did.
Same thing. It's just
Jimmy Clark and Day Grant.
I think Day.
Mark Pope said, the head coach for BYU, Mark Pope, he said about those two guards, he has no idea how to slow them down, actually, so we'll just see if we can do our best. They're explosive. They can score at all 3 levels, and they make plays for their teammates in huge ways. Talking about Day Grant and Jimmy Clark. Jackson Robinson's going to have to stop them and get things going on offense for the Cougars. We'll move towards Duquesne now. I understand you are going to talk about one of those guards.
Both botched his name so far today. Not going to do it here. I'm talking about Day Grant.
There it is.
A10 tournament MVP. He's played great this year, and he's played especially in the back half. Only thing is, second half of that VCU game was not a great showing for him. He actually also, at the end of that game, when he really could have put it away, with what is his bread and butter, a free throw, He just missed it, and that was a big moment for him. He does not miss those shots.
He was 1 for 3 on free throws. He missed more than he made.
Yeah. And that is not
Eerie.
That is not typical play for Day Grant. And I think he's going to put the team on his back today. I think he's going to lead the team in points. I see him rebounding off of, not an amazing end to that VCU performance and showing up in a big way.
He's going to need to. I was going to go Jimmy Clark, but I had a kind of a thought before I started talking again. Dave Dixon. When we talked about that VCU game, he didn't look there. He didn't look there offensively. The game before against Bonaventure, he didn't look there offensively or defensively. I mean, he's got to be better. This is a big-time game against a team that has a lot of bigs. He's got to control the paint. Mahorcic and Nietzsche can't do it all against a team like BYU. David Dixon, one of the best players on the team, needs to get going. He needs to get going offensively, needs to be there defensively, be that rock inside the paint. If he can do that, Duquesne stands a pretty good chance of winning this game. So we'll move towards the picks now. With that being said, Dylan, will Duquesne win in their first NCAA tournament game since 1977, or will they lose in their first tournament game since 1977? Oh, before you talk, though, I wanted to bring this up in the very beginning. Last time Duquesne and BYU played was in 1952. And you know who was playing then? I told you this yesterday. You know who was playing then? Sidney Dambrot. Keith Dambrot's father.
Unfortunately for the very hopeful Dukes, I don't think Duquesne can get it done. But fortunately for BYU, I think they can. I think matchup-wise, I've looked at the strengths and the weaknesses of both teams. Obviously, a big strength of BYU is that offense, and then the big strength of Duquesne is that defense. So I think if they win that matchup, that could, create some potential for them. But when I look at the strength of BYU, the size, the scoring, and I look at their struggles in rebounding. And the Dukes, they're very good in the A10 in rebounding, but this isn't the A10 anymore. Nope. This is a big BYU team, and I think despite those struggles they've had, I think they'll do well against the Dukes today in rebounding. And another thing that they've struggled with, BYU, is opponent threes. And the Dukes have two sharpshooters out there in Jimmy Clark and Day Grant. But this is the big boy league now. And not to take away from the A10, not to take away from all of Duquesne's amazing success, because I do think they will definitely put the work in today and give BYU a good fight. Yeah. But as far as size goes down in the paint, BYU has Duquesne all day. I think they'll dominate, and I think they'll win by 10.
You know what? And the other thing is, with three-point shooting, Duquesne doesn't really have a stretch five. So when you look inside, it's BYU's got two big guys down there, and Duquesne's going to need to figure out a way to shoot well from the perimeter. But inside, it's still going to matter because you need to control the big boys for BYU, and Dave Dixon is going to have to play a big role in that today. Will he? Not sure, but if he does, I think Duquesne will come out on top. But the way that Dixon has been playing, the way Jimmy Clark shot him, he shot 2 of 17 in the game against VCU. Day Grant, he's going to make enough threes. He's going to have one of those 30-point performances. Yes, it could happen, but I just don't see it happening today. I see BYU winning this one in a close one by 5. However, that's just my pick. That's just Dylan's pick. We'll see what happens. A little 6-11 upset. We'll see. Big bracket day. We hope that your brackets don't get busted in the first game. Mine probably will, given my luck. But that's going to do it for the Duquesne Sports Pregame Show. I've been your host, Jack Morgan. Dylan Fisser, enjoy the game.
Will do.
No, can we? No, we're gonna cut it from when I say that's it for the pregame show. I'm so sorry, Nick. I'd want to kill me too. And that's gonna do it for the Duquesne Sports Pregame Show. For Dylan Fisser, I'm Jack Morgan. Saying so long from Omaha, Nebraska. Enjoy the game, everyone.